We're delighted again to be joined by Eric Glick of the Glick Law Firm, who's been here with us frequently over these past several months to help us find our way down this very complicated COVID-19 path and look at things from a legal perspective. Mr. Glick, thank you for coming back to our little old radio and TV show here.
Good to be back with you again. We finally have some nice weather.
Yes, weather is better. The economy is starting to get a little bit better slowly. We are starting to get out of our houses and homes. And, I think we're going to start right there, Eric Glick. It's confusing. It's so hard. I think the police department from Bloomfield Township, they were on earlier today. Yes. And we were talking to Captain Dan Edwards. He said there have been over 101 executive orders during this crisis, and it's been awful hard. And we follow these religiously. It's been really hard to figure out how to implement this. Are you getting phone calls at your office with people saying, hey, which way do we go on this, that, and the other thing?
Initially I was most from the construction industry about what's essential, what's not essential, what can they do, what's part of the residential infrastructure. But now, we're just trying to sort of go, now we sort of have an understanding a little bit because a lot of the orders are rescissions of old orders and replacement just with new dates. But as attorneys, we're not only dealing with the executive orders, we're also dealing with orders from the Supreme Court Administrator's Office, which governs what the courts are supposed to be doing when the courts can reopen. So we've got that on top of other things, and they work in conjunction with each other. A lot of them use the state of emergency as the guideline for when filings have to be submitted. So that's an interesting thing right now. So for example, if a complaint is filed, potentially, as long as we're in a state of emergency, you have that much time to get your complaint served. And if you're served with a complaint because you can find a process server that's working, the defendant has an extended amount of time to answer the complaint. So for example, if you've got 21 days to answer a complaint, that 21 days is going to start from June 19th, which is the current state of emergency expiration date.
So everything, am I getting this right, Eric Glick from the Glick Law Firm? Everything that would happen in a court from a consumer level, somebody sues you, you sue somebody else, even like you get a speeding ticket or something. Is all this stuff on hold until the 19th of June at the earliest?
Well, those are for new cases. What's been happening since this whole thing started was initially courts just kicked the can down the road. Any dates that were scheduled during the stay-at-home order or the state of emergency, they pushed down the road a couple weeks or a month. Then after a while, courts started having telephone hearings. Some courts started having Zoom hearings. I had a Zoom hearing with the Wayne County Probate Court a couple weeks ago. I had a Zoom trial scheduled with the 48th District Court this week, but that was adjourned. And that'll be interesting doing a trial by Zoom when all the witnesses and all the documents are remote. But all the courts are doing it differently. Most courts are required to be open, not to the public, but to process documents. So if you file a motion, if you file a judgment, if you need conservatorship or guardianship, we can get that done. We can file liens and deeds with the Register of Deeds offices, although it's been slow, but we're allowed to do that now. That's always been open, not to the public, but for processing paperwork. Some courts, I'm not so sure. I call and don't get an answer or a call back. Other courts, they're there, they're processing paperwork, they get it back to you right away. So it's hit or miss. We really need to call the courts and see what we're dealing with when we have a case that needs attention.
Is it hit or miss from jurisdiction to jurisdiction? So let's say, back to my speeding ticket analogy. Let's say you get a speeding ticket in one municipality, and is it possible that they wouldn't be able to hear your case if you decided to take it to court, and in another one they would, and they'd just do it via Zoom?
It depends where they are. I sort of think they're trying to prioritize. Certainly for emergency hearings, for criminal hearings where you can't leave someone incarcerated, they've got to have hearings. For PPOs, personal protection orders, they're doing Zoom hearings. For conservatorships and guardianships, the same thing. Traffic ticket, it might be something they kick down the road. I do have a couple of them pending, and they have been kicked down the road. I wouldn't be surprised if some courts were doing them by Zoom because they're relatively straightforward, right? But it just depends on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Some court, like, for example, Social Security disability, they're still doing things a little bit the old-fashioned way. They're doing telephone hearings, not even video. Other courts are quickly implementing the Zoom system or something similar. And like I said, a lot of the courtrooms have been geared up for that already, but they're trying to figure out how to do it on a civil basis. A lot of times it's not unusual to have someone who's incarcerated participate by video as opposed to bringing them into the courtroom. So a lot of the courtrooms have the video technology built in. They're just figuring out how to use the Zoom and how to arrange it so you can have trials and be able to cross-examine witnesses and submit documents. It gets more difficult with things like that.
Eric Glick of the Glick Law Firm is joining us here in the MegaCast. Dave Scott, Tyler Keefe, thank you very much for tuning in and being with us today. So, Eric, I don't know, this doesn't really fall into your wheelhouse, I don't think. Maybe it does, but Tyler just said June 1st is the date that the Secretary of State's office is going to be open. I don't know how they've been doing automobile transactions during this period of time. I know that my driver's license expired, and I moved. It was like a double whammy, so I couldn't do any of my licensing online. So I've been waiting for the Secretary of State's office and been driving around with an expired driver's license and expired license plate on my car, my motorcycle, and and I own a boat too. I'm not just bragging about my toys, just trying to do all this stuff. All this stuff is expired, and I was kind of worried about it, and then I'd see the executive orders coming through. But, have they been, do you have any idea of any interactions with the Secretary of State? Have they been running anything at all?
No, but they've got to give some type of a grace period, or the police have to give some type of a grace period because they're going to be inundated. I mean, it's a long enough wait as it is before this happened, and now you've got 3 months worth of people that needed to get in all having to go in at once.
Yeah, I just said, thanks a bunch. I'm thinking about the line that I'm going to run into when I go over to the Secretary of State's office to get that done. All right. Well, I marked my calendar. I marked my calendar June 1st, Tyler. We'll get that done, and I think the executive order gives us more time. So, Eric Glick joining us, Glick Law Firm. Thank you very much for being with us today. You were talking a couple of moments ago, actually it was interesting, talking about trying to conduct a defense or prosecution on Zoom. What are your thoughts about that, and how is your preparation going?
Well, I'm not looking forward to it. There's no way around it. If the court wants to do it that way, that's what we're going to do. And these are not major trials. But, the preparation is still the same, but it's more difficult. Like we were talking a few weeks ago about remote notarization and witnessing of documents. It's a lot more cumbersome. We've got to submit trial briefs. We've got to submit exhibits. We've got to submit them in a format where the court knows when we're remotely referencing them, which ones to and you've got to get them to, I suppose you've got to get them to the witness beforehand because the witness is going to be participating remotely. A lot of it is just going to be, it's uncharted territory.
Yeah. Is it difficult for an attorney? We watch all the legal dramas on television, and it's always fascinating. The huge drama as a lawyer emotionally walks over and rests his hand or elbow on the jury box and makes some emotional plea to the jury and looks in their faces, and then you see dramatically in the movie they're looking back and nodding or responding however they're going to respond. Is that personal interaction with the jury, if you have a jury trial, is that important?
Absolutely. With the jury, but also with the witnesses you're calling and with the judge and with the staff and with the other attorney. That's why I say it's all uncharted territory. We're always there in the same room, and you're reading facial expressions and you're reading body language and you're seeing how someone reacts. And a lot of it is being able to think on the fly and react on the fly. And that's difficult when you've got to prepackage documents and things beforehand. You got to sort of anticipate even more than you ordinarily would.
All right, Eric Glick, it's a brave new world. I'm sure that you are up to the task, and you're going to go from Zoom to everyone wearing a mask, and then you won't be able to see anyone's facial expressions either. So, good luck. We will get through this. Hopefully, it won't be too long. And business must go on, though. You just can't have all these cases held up forever. There'll be a huge backlog, and a lot of them, if you can't adjudicate something, it gets in the way of day-to-day commerce being done, and we don't want that either.
Sure.
All right. Eric, anything else to add before? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying we're setting up all those apparatus you were talking about earlier in anticipation of, law firms being able to reopen. So we've got dividers in all the conference rooms and at the secretarial stations with the sneeze guards and all those things. So when we're ready to be open, it's a brave new world even at the office.
All right. Counselor, thank you. Always good to talk to you. I hope everything is well with you. Thank you for being on the show again, and good luck in your trials. I would love when you get ready to go to court, if you would check back in. I would just love to hear, as you get ready to go to court, what it's going to be like via Zoom, and I think our listeners might be interested in that. So good luck with that, and thank you for joining us again. Eric Glick of the Glick Law Firm. Do you want to give out your web address or information real quick before we say so long?
Sure. The website is www.ericglicklaw.com. Phone number is 248-220-1423.
Eric, thank you very much. Good to be with you. Thanks for your thoughts today. Always enjoyable to talk to Mr. Glick.